Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton and Rod Babers. Getting ready for a little Christmas action tomorrow, guys. But first, let's talk state of the program. This episode brought to you by our friends Adam Lowy and his group at loweylawfirm.com. Guys, we have been so busy talking about the portal, so busy talking about what Texas is going to do in 2026 and who's staying, who's going. But what about the game actually coming up? In a week from today? Texas plays Michigan in the Citrus Bowl in Orlando, 3:00 kick, I believe. Longhorns now 7.5-point favorites. And the reason I bring this up, okay, what does it mean for Steve Sarkisian and his program? Texas currently 9-3. They beat Michigan a year ago. Michigan's going through a coaching change. Michigan's 9-3 this year. Does a win here carry some significance with it, or is this just a meaningless bowl game? Gerry, I'll start with you.
Oh, I think it carries significance. Look, Texas. The last time Texas was on the football field, they beat Texas A&M. They have positive momentum headed into this bowl game, and despite all the opt-outs and what's going on in college football right now, yeah, I'd say hell yeah, it's important to win this football game for Steve Sarkisian at Texas. Look, number one. And I know it doesn't. Some people are like, does it matter because of playoff? I still think it matters. If they win, they're going to finish in the top, probably number 10 in the final AP poll. They have more positive momentum headed in the next year. I mean, if you beat A&M, undefeated A&M, and you go beat Michigan in a bowl game and you look good doing it, there's a lot of positives to be built off of that. And look, I mean, these games still do matter. While they don't matter as much to fan bases, these games still matter in recruiting. I mean, to be able to beat a Michigan, and you beat A&M, you beat Michigan, you have 10-win season, you can take that on the road recruiting in January. This stuff still matters. I think to the fan bases, because we've become so playoff-oriented in portal, it doesn't matter as much. But I think the coaching staff whose job is to go out and get kids to visit your school and gain interest, I think it all matters big time.
What about you, Rod?
I think it still matters to win double-digit games, any level of football, man. That's a hell of an accomplishment. So I think trying to get the 10th win would matter to me as a player. It's out of pride, kind of seeing, the trajectory of the program. There's a lot of discussion about the program regressing this past season. And I think, winning 10 games to kind of symbolize at least you ended the season on the right note, right? You ended the season with momentum. For individual players as well. I mean, Arch ended the season as one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country. If you're Arch, man, you'd like to continue that, right? You'd like to build on that. A lot of players who need to build on how they ended the season. Kate Phillips, another guy that comes to mind who started to come on late. Ryan Wingo came on late, really started to hit his stride as a player. You'd like to keep that. So if I'm a player, I want to end the season, on a high note, build that momentum, and then be able to build on that confidence in the offseason. Right. And so I think it is to go out on a positive note so you can go into the offseason officially with a lot of confidence as a team. And I think, the reason people aren't talking about now, in addition to the portal, in addition to coaching changes on the 40 acres, in addition to the college football playoff, which everybody's distracted with, I think, for Texas, a lot of these, the players, they can't get distracted by it all because they got agents advising them about what they should do in this situation. I mean, it's still all about ball, guys. Still all about going out there and putting the best product on the field. So to me, the challenge would be to the players, right? Because there are a lot of guys moving on. There are a lot of guys looking at their next prospects, whether it be the NFL or whether it be a transfer portal. The leadership on this team is going to be important in this bowl game. Can you have that solidarity? Can you have unanimity with your vision and as a team, your motivation, which is, hey, we got to go out here and win and build on what we have, how we ended the season, and really the maturity that this team, I think, really went through on that road trip. And we saw kind of a transformation, a transmogrification from the character and culture of this team. And I don't want to see them lose that just because, they got distracted because there's a lot going on, the holidays, the bowl game, transfer portal and all that. I would love to see this team get focused and be able to end the season on the right way.
And all those opt-outs. 7 of those on defense alone. I get some numbers talking about this. Texas won from 2001 to 2009, Rod and Gerry. Texas had double-digit wins for 9 consecutive seasons.
Yeah.
Since 2009, prior to Steve Sarkisian coming to Texas in 2020, Texas only had one 10-win season. in those 13 years, 12 years, whatever it was. This would be an opportunity for Texas to have 3 consecutive 10-win seasons.
Yep.
So to your point, Rod, I think it still does mean something as well. I think it certainly has a idea or a role in the mind of, yes, you're still among the nation's elite. Here's another thought for you guys as well. Jerry, you mentioned they could be in the top 10, okay, with 3 losses, could be 10-3. Well, OU will be 10-3.
Yep.
They beat OU.
Yep.
A&M is going to be 11-2, and they beat A&M by two scores.
Yep.
Could Texas jump those guys in the final rankings? They beat them head to head.
Yep.
And they're if Texas wins this game, they will be really close together from a rankings perspective, will they not?
Yeah.
They'll jump Notre Dame because Notre Dame opted out. If
they may jump Notre Dame. I don't know what to say, but my point being, and I think what Rod was getting to and why I think it is important as well, is it shows you that you're, and I think we're all getting to the same idea. It shows that you have substance as a program.
Yep.
It's not Johnny come lately. It's not just, hey, Quinn Ewers is here and Xavier Worthy, and we got some guys, and now they're gone. We had a good run at defensive tackle, and now they're gone. This shows different folks, different faces at quarterback, at other positions. Lost a Thorpe Award winner last year. This year, you have another. It's a different crew, yet you still see an elite team overall, or at least an elite record.
Yep.
Overall, and I think that's huge as we talk about it. I want to also hit on a little bit of what Rod talked about in our next little segment here, and that's you called it the transmogrification or whatever. I'll just say transformation. Over the years, just to get that. But first, I want to say thanks to our sponsor. That is Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind and think you might be due compensation, reach out to Adam and his firm, LowyLawFirm.com. They'll give you a free, absolutely free consultation, no strings attached. Give them a call, see if you might be due some level of compensation for your injuries if you've been in a car wreck, truck wreck, or automobile accident of any kind. Thank you, Adam, for your sponsorship of On Texas Football. All right, I mentioned the transformation, or I'm not even going to try to pronounce the word that Rod used. We saw that, right? Because I was looking yesterday at Arch Manning's stats through the first half of the year
and
the second half of the year. Okay, the first half of the year outside of Ohio State, yeah, they played they played OU, but really the back half of this year was it was the gut of the schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had better stats the second half of the year, substantially.
Yep.
Fewer turnovers. He was part of this transformation, Rod and Jerry, but he wasn't all of it. What were some of the other things that we saw improve as the season went on that kind of put Texas up a step and was part of this transformation? Rod, I'll start with you.
I think some of the things were just simple problem solving, right? Offering up more solutions. Jerry talks about it all the time. They put AJ Milwee up in the booth. I think they gave Sark eyes he trusted up in the booth, right, to help them make better adjustments. I believe that was the Mississippi State game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So right around that time, Jerry, where they started to make that transformation that Bobby's talking about, the offensive line, the Cole Hudson, Connor Robertson move was just actually a literal solution on the offensive line. The offensive line played better, right? They still weren't a dominant O-line, but at least they weren't totally inept in pass protection and in run blocking. So I think you got improvement there. I think Arch overall, you're right, Bobby. I mean, his decision-making, taking care of the football, so that the turnovers went down, the turnover rate went down tremendously. The sack rate, he actually limited sacks too, because he got better in the scramble drill, where he was averaging almost 10 yards per play. His wide receivers around him got better in the scramble drill, knowing that, all right, when Arch breaks away from the pocket, I got to be ready to break my route off. And they were really good in the scramble drill toward the end of the year. I think one of the best teams in the country in that aspect. So I think a lot of things were just, and Sark, give Sark a lot of credit too, guys. I know we're really hard on Sark, but I think Sark realized the team that he wanted to be, the team that he visualized and envisioned during the offseason. Once he got halfway through the season, he realized, okay, that's not who we are. We got to figure out what we do best and what works for our identity. And he got back to that's when we got to the Ryan Wingo, the quick screen pass for the first play of the game for 5 straight weeks. It was 5 games on it. He was establishing the quick passing game. He realized, all right, you know what? Let's get the ball out of Arch's hands a little bit quicker. All right. And let's try to get him into a rhythm, get some more rhythm throws. And I think Sark actually started to his offense, make it more compatible with what Arch was doing instead of, long developing routes downfield and deep balls downfield. He wanted that pro style offense. He wanted it really, really bad. And maybe he'll get it this year with a more mature Arch. But the truth was that early on, he needed to make that offense more Arch friendly. And it took him a little longer than we would have liked, but I think he did it toward the end of the season. Especially A&M game, we saw some of the best play calling from Sark in the second half of that game that we saw all year long.
Jerry, what do you think? What aided the transformation, or what outside of just Arch? Was it the O-line? I mean, what was your piece on it?
I think it was Sark's adjustment offensively is what it really was. And Rod hit on a lot of those things. Look, yes, Brandon Baker played better ball as he got experience, right? But it's what he asked those guys to do. It's really hard, difficult to be successful in that downfield passing offense if you can't power run on people. I mean, where's the respect of the linebackers and safeties? And then you can just tee off and blitz the quarterback, right? And then you put immense pressure on an offensive line to pass pro in 5-man protection situations or 6 with a back. That's really difficult to do if you can't run the football effectively downhill on people. So I think Sark had to go away from what he wanted to do and instead what he had to do.
Yep.
I think that saved the season for Texas, because I think if he had stayed with what he wanted to do, I think you were looking at a 7-5 season, guys. I really do. And players did improve. Emmett Mosley being healthy helps, right?
Yeah.
Arch Manning's improvement. Obviously, Trey Wisner missed the 3 cupcake games. He came back from that. Ryan Wingo, I think that was a big one for me. It's just get the ball to Wingo quick and let his athleticism take over, because I think a lot of guys, not Emmett Mosley because he was injured, I think a lot of guys got in a bad mental headspace on the Texas offense. Arch, Wingo, maybe DeAndre Moore because he's open and you couldn't get the ball to him early. Maybe 2 or 3 of the offensive linemen. I think there were 8 or 9 guys that maybe got into a bad mental headspace offensively. And I think Sark changing what he wanted to do for what he had to do kept Texas from going 7-5.
I hadn't even thought about that, the mental headspace, but I think it's accurate. I think it's true. Rod, the piece for me, you could talk about, I think the offensive line move of Connor Robertson and Cole Hudson, that insertion of the older guys, gave them a steadying presence late in the season. I think that was after Arch. I think that was the biggest piece. The other thing that I would come back to, and I've said it before, and Jerry, you mentioned it a little bit with the wide receivers and the scramble drill, and I think Rod, you mentioned it as well, how they got more acclimated. I think just the receivers in general got more in tune with Arch.
They did.
You'd expect from him where the ball would be coming. We talked about it. They literally only had 1 receiver with him all spring practice that played, and that was Parker Livingston. Jack Andrews wasn't there. DeAndre Moore was injured. Ryan Wingo was injured. Emmett Mosley wasn't there yet. And so as we look at this, I think that was the piece of it. The other thing that I would add is I think that guys like Ty Anthony Smith came in.
Oh, yeah.
Bigger piece. They rotated in guys like Lance Jackson, Zeno Mizulu, Justice Perry started getting more. And so that really talented freshman class started playing a little bit more of a role later in the season. Cade Phillips. Those kind of guys also helped them move forward as well. Anything else you guys want to add to this edition of Say the Program, or what you're thinking right now, Rod?
Just going back to the previous conversation about the transformation of the team overall, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention special teams really ratcheted up, and mostly the return game from Ryan Niblett also added to that, really helped out the offense in terms of field position in some of those big games. So that was part of the transformation too, is that you got a weapon. You learned you had a weapon in Ryan Niblett in the return game.
That's a good point, because if you don't have that, what does Kentucky look like?
7-5, like Jerry said, you might be 75.
Well, my last piece is, and it's not necessarily this discussion, but it's going to lead into the next months of discussion. What did this team learn about playing on the road in the SEC this year that can carry over and help them next year? Because they better have learned some valuable lessons this year.
That's good.
Yep, they're on the road at Tennessee. They're on the road at LSU. OU in the Cotton Bowl again, on the road at A&M,
Missouri.
Yeah, so they've got some places to go to in 2026. That that month on the road that Rod alluded to. I would also say this: 10-3 is a lot further away. It feels a lot further away from 7-5.
Yes,
than 9-4.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so. That's why, as we think about the transformation, and kind of tie this entire episode together, the transformation only really truly takes place if you finish the job, right? So 9-4, did you really transform much, or were you just an okay team, above average team? 10-3, you're thinking, we may have been pretty good there at the end, and maybe we should have gotten into the playoffs.
Well, and let's say this: there will probably be more people that watch Texas, Michigan than JMU and Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
So it's important to win, to beat Michigan, and Arch play well and Texas play well headed into next year, because there's going to be a lot of eyes on the Texas Longhorns, and these games certainly still matter.
4 million people, 4.4 million viewers for that James Madison Oregon game. So I'm with Jerry on that. I think he might end up doubling that number, actually.
I mean, I talked about it on Coffee and Football this morning. I mean, that's the same as like Texas versus Mississippi State.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that's so sad.
They went up against the NFL, though. I will say that, because remember the NFL had it up, so you compete against the leagues.
The NFL is the
3 million
pound gorilla.
Yeah,
what's up, Jerry?
There's going to be 3 million hate watchers of Michigan and Arch Manning in this game too, so that's going to be really high.
Because every Ohio State fan's going to watch it. Every Aggie's going to watch it. So that alone is going to get you to 4 million.
All right. Hey, that'll do it for this episode of On Texas Football, State of the Program. Thanks again to our sponsor, Adam Lowy, over at the Lowy Law Firm. You've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, Adam and his firm will give you a free, no strings attached consultation. Just call them, reach out to them at loweylawfirm.com. They will give you a free, absolutely free consultation. See if you might be due compensation. All right. Thank you all so much, Rod Babers. Thank you, Gerry Hamilton. You guys have a Merry Christmas tomorrow. Also, thank you to our producer behind the scenes, Matthew Hutchinson. For Rod and Jerry, I'm Bobby Burton. Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns. Merry Christmas.